Hello, I'm just adding Beverly, if I can remember how to do this. Okay, sorry guys, hold on. Yes. Oh, it was telling me how to use it. Yep, I know. Done. Okay, hold on. Here we go. Okay, I've just invited Beverly. Hopefully she'll get her invite and join us in a second. I forget that it's...
Am I here?
You are there. We can see your wall.
Right, hold on a minute. I
Okay.
need to turn it around, don't I?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes, it's me.
There we go. Hello.
It was a very nice wall, wasn't it? At least you didn't
It
see
was a nice wall.
my bin was underneath, so it possibly was nicer to
Too
do that
low.
than
So we didn't see it. That's cool. Yeah, I was trying to add you, but it kept telling me because it's like my first live in a while. So it's like it kept telling me like this is where this is. I was like, I know.
I could see that you'd gone live, and I was waiting for the invite, and then I didn't get the invite, and I was like, oh, what do I do now?
I was like, come on, let me do it. So yeah. So let me finally. We're live. We are live. So we've got a few questions. We had only a few responses to the post, but there is a box at the very bottom of your live that has a question mark and like a little bubble. If you have any questions for us, pop it in there, and when we're done chatting, we will look at those and answer any questions if they haven't already been answered in our conversation. So if you didn't know, you are here because we are talking about the Gabriel. It was funny when Lisa was like, how do you say that? I was like, it is Gabriel. And now she just got in my head. Series. So I've got my trilogy here. But we are reading the first one this month in April. And we started the 1st of April. We got a lovely little group chat. So if you still want to join, there's still time. There's no pressure because we won't be talking about the book until the end of the month. So even if you don't want to be part of it now but want to join later, again, let us know. And it's its birthday tomorrow. Is it 6?
6 years old tomorrow. My boy is growing up. Yes.
It's crazy. I think I read this first, oh my gosh, 2019. No, 2018.
Did you read it and go straight on to Shadows, or did you have to wait for Shadows to be?
No, I waited. I had taken a break because I had this one as a 99p deal because
Right.
you have quite often put it on like offer for people on Kindle, and then I bought them in paperback for Christmas.
Yes, you do. I don't know what.
Yeah, and I bought the rest of them for myself at Christmas. So yeah, I don't remember now. I'll have to look back. I should have looked before we started, so I could have said that a little bit smoother. I didn't set myself up so that I'm like a little bit. So yeah, so that's what we are here to talk about today. I have some questions, so I'm just gonna try to make them into conversation. So the first question we have is for you, Beverly, as a writer, you know, why did you start writing, or where did you start writing, or is it something that you always thought you wanted to do?
I have always written stories, either on paper or in my head. I was that kid in primary school. Whenever it was an English lesson and you were told that you had free time, I would write stories. But I was a pony mad kid. So all my stories were about ponies. Every single one, every kind of pony. And I used to take them to my teacher, and he used to say, these are lovely. the thing was, they weren't just stories. I illustrated them as well, and I'm not very
Nice.
good at illustrating. But that's kind of where it started. It was my
Kids
passion
illustrate.
kind of led into my passion for writing. And then I had a spell of time where I didn't really write anything on paper, but I had stories churning around in my head. I was always having notebooks about jotting bits of information down about characters and everything. And then one day I decided that if I didn't sit down and write a book now, I'd be in my dotage looking back at it going, oh, why didn't I try? What would have happened? And I didn't want that what if moment to kind of haunt me.
Yeah.
So it was just a case of, well, why don't you just do it? Stop talking about it and just do it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how Gabriel started.
Okay. So that kind of was a different question, but that kind of leads into the one I had about, like, when you wrote Gabriel, was it just a trilogy? Did you have it in your head as a trilogy, or was it a single story to start with?
When I was writing Gabriel, I didn't even know whether I had it in me to finish that one book.
Yeah.
Even though people say, oh, there's a book in everybody.
Yeah.
Of course, it's your first book, so you keep finding errors and you keep finding glitches, and maybe the story isn't going exactly as you thought it would do. So then you have the imposter syndrome, the self-doubt. But when I was writing Gabriel, it was only ever going to be a standalone right up until about the last 10,000 words.
Okay.
When a couple of characters came in and said, well, you think you're going to just leave me here and forget about us, you've got another thing coming. And we all know who those two characters were.
Yeah, for those of us who have read it, we would know. And obviously, if you haven't read it, you need to to do that. But yeah, okay, I can see that now that you've said that. Like, having read it, that makes sense, because some of the characters, like you said, that kind of come in later, like, well, within the story, there was definitely more story for them, and
Yeah.
which we got with the trilogy.
It can do that as a standalone, can't it? Because it gets to a point in the story, right at the end of the story, where you get the ending, and you could read that and say it's a complete story without wondering what happened next.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe, like, because I read it, and then I think I didn't read the other two for, like, I read this one earlier in the year, like in March-ish, well, around this time, and then I picked the other two up later on. So, which is also what inspired me to kind of want to, like, do this read along. I want to read all three of them together. So I'm reading. So if you haven't been paying attention to my stories or Beverly stories, we're reading The Making of Gabriel Davenport this month, and then the following two books in May and in June. So even if you've read the first one but want to join us for the second and third one, let us know, because you can still join in at any time. So yeah, okay. One of the
laid back read along as well. There's no pressure. You don't have to.
Oh yeah,
complete chapters in a certain time or anything.
Yeah, it's very loose based. So we're gonna read the first one together, and it's just the group chat, and we'll have a chat at the end of it. Like I said, even if you want to join the group chat right at the end of the month to kind of see what we've been talking about and stuff, it's there. Just let us know. Following with that one, we had one question on one of your posts, and that was, again, it was similar to that kind of story, like, or the same kind of question, where it was, so did you know, like, what changed in the story? So you kind of talked about that a little bit, but, like, what changed in the story when you were writing it, besides the fact that these characters came in and then carried that story on? But was there anything? I guess I'm assuming that's what she was asking. Did you read that question?
I did read that question, and I should have read that question before I came on here, and I didn't.
I thought I wrote it down.
The thing about my stories is that I never know exactly how they're going to be, because I'm very much a pantser. I don't plot. I have a beginning, and I generally have an end, and I have kind of a few points in between that I'd like to hit. But apart from that, I'm very character-led. I trust my characters to lead me down the right pathway. And sometimes I have these points, like I say, that I want to hit, and then they go wandering off down another pathway, and I'm like, whoa, hold on a minute. But I trust them enough to follow them. So with a song like Gabriel, I knew the ending. and it was a very firm ending that never changed all the way through. So I had to kind of make sure that I steered them towards the fact that that's how the story was going to end.
Okay. So yeah, so you've said that to me before, but obviously we're on live. So yeah, having a clear ending helps guide your story. So I kind of jumped around. I had questions kind of in order that I thought were going to flow, but you said things that have prompted me to ask different questions. So you're saying about character-led. Do you have a favorite character that you've written for this trilogy?
Oh, I couldn't possibly pick a favorite because they would all come and haunt me in my sleep. Obviously Gabriel, because he's my protagonist and I love him dearly. And I've put him through hell and he's come out fighting. So Gabriel. Other characters I love, Olivia Taverner, because she just is such a kick-ass woman. She just doesn't take any crap from anybody. I love her to death. Noah Isaacs, who is my reverend, is actually the character who is most like me. Noah's the kind of person that if there was an argument going on in the room, he'd be the one trying to mend the bridges between people. This is me. He doesn't like conflict. This is me. But it wasn't until the reader pointed that out after they'd read the book that I realised that he was just like me. He wasn't anything that actually happened.
So is that something you discovered with rereading it, or something somebody said to you that they thought it reminded them of you?
Yes.
Okay.
And then, of course, there's Clove, who is my master vampire. I don't think I'm giving anything away there.
Yeah.
And he did everything that I love in a vampire. Mysterious, dumb, very intelligent.
It's not a spoiler. There are vampires in these books. That is well known.
And then, of course, there's Morph. What can you say about Morph?
Yeah, I think all of the characters are, like, how do you pick just one? Because they're different in their different ways.
They all bring something of their own to the story, and to take one of those characters out, the story wouldn't be as rich. But I couldn't.
Exactly. So one of my other questions was, which was the hardest to write? So sometimes, like you said, Noah being more similar to you might have been easier to write because it's more yourself. But like sometimes writing characters that maybe aren't, I don't know. So I was just kind of curious. Did you find one character harder to write than others?
Just trying to think. Possibly the only one that I didn't get a very good handle on in that first book was Teal. I wasn't quite sure how he thought, what his motives were. I mean, reading back into Gabriel now, I can see where it was leading. But because Teal didn't have a particularly strong viewpoint, he was just kind of going along with Moth. He was possibly the hardest because I didn't know him very well. It wasn't until I got through Shadows that his voice really came out from me. Yeah,
fair enough. Cool. I'm going back to seeing if what I've missed, because like I said, I'm jumping around a little bit. So you said, going back to the beginning, kind of when you were writing this, one of the questions I was also curious about was there any inspiration, like, from outside sources, or was it just a story that you hadn't, like you said, stories were in your head and you thought about it, but is there anything that's clear that was like an inspiration for the story, like that made you think that, like, you know, whether it's anything?
There was actually a very long time ago, and I don't even know how many years, I watched a TV program and it was about this old house, and it was gorgeous, and it had wood paneling, and it was antique floors, and it was beautiful. It was a character in its own right. And this house was the setting for a paranormal research organisation. If anybody knows what this program is, please tell me. I've been racking my brain. I can't think of it was. So when I was writing my own paranormal research organisation, it just was obvious to me that I was going to use a house like that. And that's how the manor was born.
Okay. So that was where you first started thinking of the story and what would have happened in that story. Okay, that's kind of fun. We'll have to do some research about the show.
Yes, somebody somewhere must know what this show
Somebody must know. And with the internet the way it is, it's got to be out there somewhere. It's got to be something. Well, next time we have coffee, we'll sit So speaking, we did just say there's vampires in this book, these books. I was curious, would you want to be a vampire?
Oh
And if
gosh, the
why?
age of part of me goes yes, because who wouldn't want to live forever? Because we all have one life, and there's not enough time to do everything that you want to do in that one life, is there? So if you were a
Yeah.
vampire, it wouldn't matter. You all the places you could see and all the experiences you could have, and everything under the sort of the cover of moonlight. That really appeals to my dark little heart.
Yeah.
But then again, maybe not, because if you were a vampire, it would probably change your moral compass.
I think
Um,
also when you live forever, you see things. Sometimes you
yeah,
see them.
and you might fall in love with mortals, and then they would die unless you brought them over, and then it just gets a bit messy.
It does sound messy.
Yes and no. I can see there's pros and cons for it, but
Yeah, I think I'd have to
that
agree with you.
knocking on my window recently, so I haven't had to make that decision.
Yeah. Well, we hope not.
Not
I've
that
always
I'm
I always thought I wouldn't want to be a vampire because I don't like the idea of drinking blood. But other than that, if there was a way around that, then I would.
But I mean, you wouldn't have to worry about any other food source. There wouldn't be any of this, what do I need for dinner?
That's true. I wonder if I could be a vampire baker and start baking cakes. I do like to bake, so maybe not. And then speaking of vampires, do you have any favorite vampires outside of obviously your vampires?
Okay. One of my first favourite vampires was Anna Rice's The Vampire Lestat. He was like my first real book crush.
Mm.
Anti-hero. I mean, Lestat is bold and defiant and brash and brazen, and he uses immortality exactly as it's supposed to be used. In other words,
Yeah.
he gets what he wants and he goes for it. I just love Lestat. He just was my favourite character for a very, very long time. And I noticed other vampires as well, Louis and Armand and
Mm.
Marius. You could just go on forever. Recently, another vampire has joined my favourites, and that's Nicole Aegina's Vocalin, who is
Okay.
very different from Lestat. He's sort of introverted but passionate, but he can be very brutal. But he's really self-aware, and he gets himself into these really awkward situations that he has to sort of find a way. And it's just a very different take on vampirism. So if anybody
Okay.
is looking for vampires with time travel, I'm not going to tell you anything else about it, pick up A Beguiled by Night by Nicole Aegina.
I
And
have
the
it
last,
in my I have it on my to be read list.
I will bug you until you read that one.
I think I'm kind of have it in my head because I was planning the reread of these ones that I would reread these three books, read her book somewhere, maybe either alongside or like at the same time because you guys did do a joint story.
We did a companion novelette, but that's to be read after the series and after Nicole's book. And again,
Yeah.
it can be read by itself, but you wouldn't get the character development and the story.
Yeah.
Story, but you wouldn't get as much out of it if you haven't read the series and Nicole's.
Yeah. So that was kind of because I knew that. So I have both on my to be read, but I was like, I need to do this kind of in order. But yeah, so I've got those planned. So again,
sorry.
I was gonna say with the group chat, like anybody else, if anybody's watching who's already reading along with us, or even if you're not, if you want to read along that one, I might add it on. Might do. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So yeah.
And the last one to add to that, again, it's a recent acquisition. I will turn onto this book by Sadie Hartman, Mother Horror, and also Nicole, who read it just after Sadie did, and that is The Lesser Dead by Christopher Buhlman. This book went straight into the top 5 of my favourite ever. Vampire in there called Joey Peacock, who is naive and kind and so loyal to the band that he finds himself caught up in. It's set in 1984 under the New York subway, I like to say. But the
All
end
right.
will dig your heart out with a spoon. Wonderful.
Have we talked? I mean, I don't think I've heard of this one. Maybe I have, and I'm just
When family met up. We
okay.
never discussed it, but I mean, and absolutely just one of those books when you finish reading it and your jaw drops to the floor, and then you have to go and have some quiet time by yourself.
Those are the best kinds of books, for sure. All right. I don't think I had too many other questions. Another just about, so obviously horror is kind of your thing, but do you read other genres, or are you interested in writing other genres?
I do read other genres. I tend to stick to the kind of darker side, whether that's thriller based or all the different types of dark fiction, or dark fantasy, supernatural suspense. But generally speaking, every December I pick up something that is not like that at all. It's what I call my sort of like palate cleanser. And that was one of the times that we read Starless Sea together in December.
That is, we did, along with why can't I remember people's names?
Oh, Serena.
Thank you. Yeah.
And this last year I read The House in the Cerulean
Sea.
And that was just wonderful. That's a real warm hug of a book.
Everybody keeps telling me to read that one.
Yeah, it is just wonderful. It's a real heartwarming book that if anyone actually described what happens in it, you would go, well, how can that be heartwarming? But it is. It's lovely.
Well, that's because we talked about that one last time we were together. We were saying, because I've just finished reading Ninth House, so we're going to switch copies and horror books. This is the best thing about having book friends that are close by.
You can read each other's books.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to see. It looks like we do have a question here. So I think I couldn't ask most of the questions I had. So let's see what anybody else has. I'm going to pull this up here. Noel's asked us from Irish Book Mammy. It said, would you ever consider writing a different genre? So we've talked about reading. Would you look at writing?
I think I would. It would. Obviously, it would depend on the story, but if an idea came to me and I felt that I could do it justice, I think I would definitely try. But it would probably be something again on the dark side, because that's where I think I play better. I play better in the shadows. So it might be a thriller or a psychological suspense, or I don't think you would ever see my name on these books that are pink and fluffy and have little characters. Not there's anything wrong with pink and fluffy books.
No, but I think that'd be a lot of fun. I keep thinking of that. Is it Graham Smith who wrote My Exorcist, my best friend is Exorcism or whatever. Oh, whatever. And then the Southern. Yeah. So I always him.
Yeah.
I'm terrible with names. His books are kind of like, I've read a couple of them. They are quite dark, but they're also kind of fun. They're kind of like that kind of mixed genre. So it'd be fun to see like a dark romance novel, all pink. But when you read it, it's not. I don't know. It could be a bit fun.
I don't think I'm going to do that, Lisa. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Maybe that's something I'll have to do one day. I don't know. But I think when we talk about genres, I think sometimes it's so hard because I do think they cross over so many lines. Like I think it's hard to just go, this book is horror, this book is fantasy, this book is like a murder mystery, because sometimes you get all three or more than one genre in a book anyways, because even throughout this series you do get some mystery. There's the questions of what's this, what's that, and it's maybe not a murder mystery, but it's still solving a mystery of, okay, what's this mean, how does that work? It's like a puzzle. So I think all books kind of
that's the thing about pigeonholing books. I hate pigeonholing books because no one book is pure horror, no one book is pure romance or comedy or
Exactly.
wow, anything like that. They all have elements in there that are different, and just pigeonholing a book into one and saying, oh, if it's horror, it can't be dark fantasy, or if it's horror, it can't be humorous. That's just silly.
Exactly. I think of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. There are some very dramatic moments in that series, but also some very comedic scenes in that. Like, just makes it real, and I think that makes it like where it's very much fantasy or horror, but it's still real. Like, you can make it feel like real life. We did have another question, again from Knowles. She's asking, top tip for people thinking about stepping into writing. So anybody out there who's thinking, because you self-publish, so you've got this trilogy. I've also got, I thought I'd bring them out, because I was also going to mention, so I've got your other books here too. We've got The Ruin of Delicate Things, which is a full novel, and then we've got The House of Little Bones, which is, how do you guys say it? Is it a novel?
A novella.
Novella. See, I can't say. So we've got these ones too, but you've self-published all of your own stories. So I suppose even just top tips for people wanting to start writing, but also maybe people self-publishing as well.
But if you want to start writing, the most important information I can give you is sit your bum down in a seat and start writing, because you can talk about it till you're blue in the face. You can go on the internet and you can read all the self-help forums, which will probably all give you different information. Obviously, you need information, but the most important thing is to get your story down on, I'm saying on paper, we all know it's not on paper, on your laptop. And
what people like to write.
some people do actually write their stories out by longhand. I couldn't do that. I can never read my own handwriting. But just get your story down there, and it doesn't have to be perfect. I think that's a lot of first-time writers think that what they have in that first draft is what they're going to be left with. But no, the first draft is just you telling yourself the story. It's called the vomit draft.
Yeah.
Purely because you will just put everything out there. And you'll find some threads of that story will stick. And you'll get halfway through it and you'll go, oh, I'm not going to go down that way anymore. But you don't have to go back and fix it. Not yet. You just go to the end, write it as you want to write it. And then in your second draft, you can go back and fix all the bits that you didn't. And it still won't be done. I mean, I usually go through 6, 7 drafts of my books.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And then do you give them to, so like,
usually speaking, 2 drafts, they go to my critique partners. 4 drafts, they will go to my beta readers. The 5th draft goes to my editor, and the 7th draft goes to my proofreader.
Okay. And those are all people you found online through your own community, isn't it? So you've just kind of have your own community of writers, and you do that.
I mean, it takes a long time to build up a team, and I think a lot of that is very difficult for a new writer. They maybe panic about how do I find the right people, but it's just a matter of, again, being on social media, finding the people that you gel with, the people that you look up to, and just asking them, because I find that writers are such passionate, heartwarming people. They will give you their time if they feel like that they can help you. There's always somebody up there wanting to give you a pull up the ladder.
Yeah.
Which is wonderful. And then it's just a matter of just learning bit by bit. I mean, self-publishing could go on for like 3 or 4 hours on self-publishing, because every time you think you've got a handle on it, by the time you get to the next book, it's all changed and you've got to learn bits of it again.
Yeah.
Amazon are always changing the parameters of what you can do and what you can't do. And then there's algorithms and keywords and just a whole load of other stuff. But first things first, get the story down, get somebody to read it. If they think that you have something there, just keep at it, because you can do it.
It's like we said earlier, they say everybody's got a book in them. So even if, even if nobody else reads it and if it's something you want to do, I kind of feel like you should just do it. and you don't know what will come of it. So
I
yeah,
mean, you may write it and then stick it in a drawer for 5 years, and then one
yeah,
day you'll look at it and go, "Oh, that bit that I was stuck on, I know what to do with it now."
yeah. I found when I
But
was at my,
that's what I
sorry.
did with. Sorry, that's what I did with Gabriel. The first 3,000 words of Gabriel were written for a short story competition where you sent in the beginning, and then if you won, it went to an editor and they could look it over and see if it was any good. So I wrote the first 3,000 words, and then I forgot to enter the competition. And it languished on my desktop for 8-9 months, and then
Mm.
January 2015 I picked it up again and thought, oh, hold on a minute, and I read it through, and I really liked what I'd written, but there was something not quite right. And it was only when I studied it that I found out what that was. It was because in the very beginning, Gabriel was a girl, the baby was a
Okay.
girl called Erin. And as soon as my brain went, hold on a minute, it has to be a boy, that's when the rest of the story started to speak to me.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know that. I feel like I knew that, but maybe I didn't.
I told you.
I'm sure you did. It's one of those things. It's like, oh right, and I was like, this sounds familiar, but yeah, no, that's interesting. Like that you wrote a whole story and then came back to it and just changed the gender of the main character because it didn't feel right. But
I've
that
heard
better.
other people say that as well, that for some reason the gender of the character doesn't work, that the story is demanding something else. And of course, as we go through the books, it's obvious why Gabriel had to
Yeah,
be.
yeah, interesting.
Hmm.
So I don't have any other questions on there. We do have a little bit more time. We don't have to have the full hour. I don't know what else I was just thinking in my head. I could just talk about the read along a little bit. If
Good,
that's
yeah.
yeah. So if you're just joining us, if you're kind of coming in, we are currently reading The Making of Gabriel Davenport. We'll be talking about it at the end of the month. And then we will be reading, I had them out of order, Shining in the Shadows in May, and then we'll be reading The Purity of Crimson in June. So we'll be reading those in our group chat. But besides just the group chat, I also have a photo prompt like bingo challenge, which will last throughout the whole 3 months. So if you use our hashtag, I've written it so many times, for Blood is Life. Needed to write this stuff down before we got on here. If you use that hashtag, whether you're reading along with us, you are more than welcome to join that photo prompt challenge. You just need to use that hashtag so I can find all the entries. If you manage to do a full bingo card or a line, it's an extra entry. And the prizes are a copy of one of Beverly's books, whichever one you want. If you are in the UK, it will be signed and sent to you. If you're outside of the UK, I think we said US and Canada, just because I'm not sure with some of the restrictions that we still have. Like shipping to certain places can still be quite expensive. So that's the way we limited it. Oh, Ireland's included as well. And we'll.
But if say the winner is in the US or Australia or somewhere, and they want a signed book plate, I'm more than happy to sign a book plate and send it on to
Yeah,
them.
I think I forgot to add that in my post, but I'll have to try to remember that for my other one. You're also in. I'm creating some fun candles. This is like a test one, so it's not as perfect. I've got a smell. It's pomegranate, mandarin, and amber. And I said to Beverly, I was like, I wasn't sold on the smell, but they've been sitting in my kitchen for a while, and it's kind of growing on me. I wish I could. I'm smelling it.
Instagram
But like
smelly.
they do, like scratch and sniff. And I'm currently working on some labels for them. So you will win. First prize wins a book, a candle, and a bookmark, which also I'm working on. And then second prize will win a candle and some bookmarks, and third prize will win some bookmarks. So there's more than one way to win. So we got a few prizes for that. And again, you don't have to be reading along for us with that. It's just if you want to join in, there's other ways to join in. This is our first live. We may do another one. We'll see. Maybe one towards even
quite as scary as I thought it was going to be.
They're fine. We've had a few people watching us, but it is saved, so other people can watch it later, and we'll be showing it. So if you want to catch up, also it's oh, sorry, my finger's in the way. Yeah, we've only been talking for 35 minutes, so we had
quite really, hasn't it?
Yeah. And I was also thinking of doing some kind of quiz or something, but I haven't decided how I'm going to do that yet. So stay tuned. I've got some time to sort that out. But just trying to, with each book, do something for each one. So for this first book, because it's his birthday tomorrow, 6 years old.
Yes,
it's crazy. And
sometimes it seems like it was only like last year that I wrote it, and other times it seems like it was ages ago. It is.
Well, just like we were just talking about, like the story's been in your head for so long, and then it's finally written, and it goes through all those drafts, and it goes through that whole process, and it changes. It must feel like it's so much older in some ways, but then like that whole excitement of like, a book, it's in a book, it's a book form, like it's so exciting. That's a whole other thing, which makes it feel maybe like it was just last year, not 6 years ago. So I've never written a book, but I can see how like those feelings would be there.
I mean,
so
it's just the fact that the characters are with me for such a long time, because obviously there was Gabriel, and then there was Shining Shadows. The Purity of Crimson came out in 2019, so I was really kind of living these characters for 40 years.
Yeah.
They are the set of characters that are still with me. I still have them on my shoulder, yakking away, saying, "You're not quite finished with us, are you yet?" So never say never. I'm not saying that there may be something in the future, but maybe the only way to shut them up is to give them another story.
I think most fans like Moth a lot. A lot.
Moth is my bad boy. Moth is, he's the one that people go, we just love him.
Yeah, and every time, like, you just had somebody create some amazing character art for him. That was really cool, and I was like, yeah, that looks about right. But he does tend to be the favorite. It'd be interesting to have a story from his point of view. Just saying.
Okay, add it to my list.
That's the other thing. Oh, and that was the other thing. I was like, so we've got that. You've just published the joint book novelette. Novelette.
Crimson is the Night.
With oh my God. Thank you. I need to write this stuff down. But do you have anything that you can tell us about that you're working on, or is that all kind of secret?
I kind of tell you bits. It's a story very much in the same vein that I'm known for. It's about hidden secrets from the past and the consequences of those pasts bleeding over into the present.
Kind of similar to
but very different.
Okay.
The same but different, if that makes sense. So it's about a family who are impacted by what has happened in the past from a long lost relative. What he did is still paramount to how they are living their life today. Because of that, they become the family becomes somewhat pariahs in the village that they're living in. And into this village come two strangers who don't know each other, and then somehow they're drawn into the whole mystery of things, odd things that are definitely happening in this village. And that's probably about all I can say about it without giving anything else away.
That's fine. That sounds exciting.
Very vague.
I'm sure I will be asking more questions as time goes on.
Yes, I will fill you in. Maybe by the next time we meet, I might be able to tell you a little bit more about it.
Sounds good. Well, I didn't have anything else to really say, I guess. Is there anything you wanted to share with us or say, or you've been,
I don't think so, apart from anybody that has ever bought one of my books, reviewed one of my books, told other people about one of my books. Thank you so much. It is deeply appreciated. The book world, I'm a very small minnow in the book world, and I swim with a lot of very big sharky type people. And to know that people are actually buying my books and enjoying them when they could be buying somebody else's books and enjoying those, it means a lot. Thank you.
yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. If you'd like to see us do another live, let us know. If you have any other questions, you can shoot them my way or straight to Beverly in her DM. She's more than happy to answer questions, obviously within reason. Can't give away secrets or anything like that. But yeah. So I think that's it for tonight. And thank you. Yeah, thanks for joining us. And if you want to rewatch it, it'll be on my Instagram, and I'll get it advertised for us. Okay. I don't know how to end these things. Bye.
You could say good night, but it's not good night in some places, so bye.
That's true. If you're in England or the other, like from the outside, good night. If you're anywhere else, good evening. So
good morning, maybe. This is getting silly.
It is. We're gonna go now. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.